Hello and welcome to the last lesson of this course, in which this time we're going to work with the last element, which is air. So I found this image on the internet, which is the most representative that I could choose when imagining how I wanted to depict this lesson that I want to teach you. And as I said before, iconic representations of air are quite scarce, but nevertheless, on this one we can observe some kind of curved and sharp movements that don't look quite like the fire that I was mentioning before. But though I'm not going to use it as a reference, with air I also refer to smoke, for example, but we're going to focus on this one for a second before I explain the next one. We can see it usually has a defined vanishing point, like a destination to get to, so to speak. And it's an alternation between those curved lines and some more straight lines that end up being something similar to this. If I could cite a kind of representation that would fit with air, I'd say probably, for example, the film Pocahontas. When they're singing Colors in the Wind, air has a representation that is aided by leaves and all that, which helps enough because air is quite complex to draw. Before starting, I'm going to begin with the smoke that, as I was saying, it has some irregular shapes which focus in some points in which the column narrows. I'm going to use it as an example, so I'll point out the main column in red, and if you look closer, there are some parts that I'll mark with a white spot where it gets quite narrow. It's a trick for it to look thicker, so you have to bear in mind it has some prominent curves, and that you can also start by making one curve and then adapt a second curve to the one you've already made, making it thinner or thicker, or adding curves along the way. What I'm doing now is trying to color the smoke. I'm going to use some slightly grayer tones. Then, as I was saying before, we'll modify it using Control U. And here you can also play with the eraser, setting it to a low flow. This way we will get a more transparent look. And now it's all about giving some light to the object, like some volume, depending on the curves it has, adapting the color to the source of light that it could offer. And to the sinuous shapes, we can see in our illustration that I remind you we're going to use some filters that Photoshop has so we can give it a bit more impact to our final results. It's also important to group layers from time to time and cleaning the excess of color in our drawing. Here's the example I was telling you about. I created a new layer that I set with a color blending mode, and right now I'm coloring it with lighter blue. You can also play with it, add some layers with, for example, screen. Screen and color are the main ones I use here. So you can use the eraser with a low flow, as I said, or turning down opacity, etc. And well, here we'd have kind of a column of smoke, quite irregular, with my own style. And as I was saying, you can add some white lines and some dots or lines that make it look like it's carrying some debris or dirt that air can bring, which makes it look more realistic. You can also use Control U in order to tweak the color and the parameters you like in order to make your drawing look great. And this pretty much would be the result. Here we will have the column of smoke. You can also play around with colors, etc. See how it makes it look quite fantastic. You can also play with the Gaussian blur filter to give it a bit of light effect. And, well, this is basically how to make some smoke. For this one here, I used overlay, screen, and Gaussian blur. And it would be more smoke than wind. And now I'm going to explain wind/air. We have to choose a vanishing point, like a precise direction. In this case, it will be from top to bottom, right to left, like this. And we're going to make these little white lines. We're going to use a brush with low opacity or just turn down the opacity of the layer. I think it's better to turn down opacity of the layer. Next, we fill it. Now we use the eraser with diffused edges for erasing the end. And now we play with the opacity after erasing the end. And we're going to do something like this. We have a white background, and with the eraser, we're going to do an effect like this. I'm going to turn down the flow. It would result in something like this, more or less. You can use a filter after that to add light zones, details, etc. Which, of course, you can delete later or not, however you see better. It also depends on the reference you take. You can put some more details with the screen blending mode, so it looks like light zones. Make adjustments. I'm kind of lucky because I have smoothing activated in CC 2018, and that helps me have more control over the mouse, even though I'm using Control Z all the time because I have a quite arguable pulse. But, well, you know, just trying, erasing, etc. And well, to finish the course, I wanted to tell you that, as you know, the final project is going to be to apply these techniques on an animal. I've chosen the salamander because I think it's quite connected to the element of the fire because of mythology, and I wanted to apply it to the other elements. I'll see you on the next lesson, and I'll explain what's left. See ya!